This is Gravy. I'm with Let's Talk Games. I'm here with my friends
Mr. Beef
and
Sick Trap.
Today we're going to talk about the best top 5 Zelda games apiece.
Of our own opinion.
Of our own opinion. Now, that's a disclaimer. This is our opinions only. But let's get it. Mr. Beef?
So Beef's starting off this discussion. My number 5 would have to be Zelda 2.
Game is so good too. Black sheep of the whole series.
It is a black sheep. It's so unique from the rest of the series. The whole side-scrolling, the RPG elements, leveling up, I mean, it's not without its flaws, but I think it's a pretty solid number 5.
And I mean, who could forget, classic meme thing, I am error. Who could forget that? I mean, that's iconic now.
You need Zelda 2.
7 or 8 year old me reading that for the first time, I am error. I remember even back then saying to myself, something ain't right about this. My number 5 game in the Legend of Zelda series is, controversially, the Four Swords Adventures for GameCube. Now, the reason I pick it is because, and I want it in the top 5, is because it was one of the few multiplayer Zelda games, and it made use of the Game Boy Advance systems. You can connect to the system, and you can have them all playing on the television simultaneously. That was one of my favorite memories of all time.
Now, see, you raise a lot of good points there. I even remember playing that game, through a link cable on my, Game Boy itself.
Right.
And that was just fantastic.
Yeah, me and you actually had a lot of fun with that game back in the day. We were still in high school then, I think.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that. I remember a couple of us would get together.
Yeah, it was a good co-op game. It was a good multiplayer game to have, and, it was something kind of refreshing in the Zelda series, which I think they've tried to do a couple more times.
Yeah, but not they haven't struck it right since.
Yeah.
Having all the individual Game Boy Advances in each palm of each player, you know what I mean? Going off screen, going off the main screen, and going to your own individual screen. There's something about that.
See, that's true. And I mean, they did try it with Triforce Heroes, obviously, but they obviously couldn't replicate the same exact, maybe, gameplay, I guess, that went into the original, because, I played both. I think the gameplay for Four Swords was obviously way higher.
Right. I feel like Triforce Heroes didn't quite reach the mark with that. I mean, especially the solo mode was just impossible. You couldn't switch between characters fast enough.
Exactly.
I remember a lot of people having that issue. I remember having fun with Triforce Heroes, though. I mean, it wasn't outstanding, definitely not top 5 or anything.
No, there was fun to be had with it, but certainly nowhere near the top 5 or 10 on my list.
Yeah, same here.
No, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Yeah, so my number 5, which is actually different from what I told you guys last time, mine is Minish Cap.
Oh.
For a few different reasons. One, it was one of the original Zelda games that I did have, so obviously there's nostalgia there for me. But, the adventure was so unique. You got to shrink down, find these, adorable little Minish creatures. I mean, there was just so much going on with that game.
Right, and the graphics for the time were really impressive.
Oh,
the screen...
That's another thing. Yeah, it has that Four Swords Adventure look to it, too. And I think that's what also drew me to it.
I didn't play a lot of the Game Boy Zeldas. I mean, I think I played Oracle of Seasons a little bit, but that game confused me so much.
Oh, I have a lot to say about that
game.
I
I gave up on it. I was just like, I think I got stuck. There was a rock somewhere. I was like, I can't get past this rock, man.
Gotta get the bracelets. Come on.
I didn't have the right bracelet.
This guy. All right, on to number 4. Number 4.
Number 4.
Let's try it. Number 4.
Keep it going.
Well, that's actually a very good, what's it called? Moving off point, because my number 4 is both Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. Now, I prefer Seasons to Ages. That part needs to be clear, because Ages, it had its good moments, but Seasons was fantastic.
See, I have to argue. I can't help but argue. Like, I felt like Ages was a little bit, like I gotta give some props to Ages. You can't leave Ages out. Ages.
No, I totally get you. Like I said, that's why they're both there as my number 4. Right. But I gotta give the headway to Seasons. Just because, I mean, you faced a dragon at the very end. Who saw that coming? I didn't see that coming.
Spoiler alerts.
For like a, 13-year-old game?
Hey, I've got so many different stories to tell about the Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons games. So one year, my mom begged me to get a haircut, and I was not having it. She wanted to shave my head so bad, and I was not having it. She said to me, I will give you anything on this earth to let me shave your head right now. And I said, Mom, if you want to buy me Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, I will let you shave my head right now. She shaved my head, and I hated every single second of it. She went to the store to get me both games. They were sold out at both of them. And I had to wait days.
Oof.
Days.
Terrible.
Before I can get my hands on it. And even then, Mom could only find Oracle of Seasons. So Oracle of Seasons has a very special place in my heart because of that, but I had to put in a little bit of work for that.
That's fair. I mean, personally speaking, those were my very first video games, like, ever. I got that with the Game Boy Color, I believe.
What color was it? What color was your Game Boy Color?
Oh, see, I think it was see-through. I don't have it anymore, which I'm very upset about, so I don't remember it. But I'm pretty sure it was one of those see-through ones, where you could, like, see all the, intricate little mechanics inside and whatnot. Motherboard and everything.
Right, we're not gonna outright verbally assault him for not remembering his first Game Boy. However, moving on.
All right.
I actually have a funny story about Oracle of Seasons, which you know very well.
I do not, though. So intrigue me.
You do not. I borrowed Mangravy's Oracle of Seasons one year, and I played it for a little bit, and I fell off with it, and I put it aside, and I had it like on a little shelf. I saw it like every single day, and I had it for, I'm gonna say, a few years, like a few years, to the point where Gravy actually blamed somebody else for stealing the copy of the game. And I think it caused, like, a lot of tension with that person. I don't remember who it was.
It created a lot of problems.
There's a lot of problems. And then one day I was just like, oh, dude, I have this game for you. And
my mind blew.
Like,
Tyler, I am still so sorry, my friend. Because you took so much heat for that, and it was not your fault. It was freaking Beef's.
Beef had it.
Yeah. But, so then I ended up with 2 copies of Oracle Seasons, because once I realized that was missing, I freaking erupted. I went out and bought a second copy. It's the reason I have an eBay account, by the way. Because I had to buy that game again.
Well, you're welcome, Now you get to buy things at a bargain.
Yeah, can I just say one more thing about Seasons? Who ever saw you riding animals in any Zelda game besides a horse? Like, I mean, you got to ride, this flying bear. You got to jump into the pouch of a marsupial, being Ricky the kangaroo, which, by far, best animal character in Zelda.
It's true.
History,
See, I did not know that you could do that.
See, I loved me that bear. Every time I walked on screen and that bear was on screen, I was like,
what was his name? Mushu or something like
I
that?
can't even remember.
I think it was like Mushu.
Pathetic.
Something like that.
Right now. If you can remember the name of the bear,
comment below. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look it up on my phone.
You should be ashamed of yourselves.
We're absolutely 100% ashamed of ourselves. Well, while he's looking that up, I'm just going to go ahead and say my 4th out of my top 5 is Link's Awakening for the Game Boy. It was the first Game Boy game, the first Zelda to come out on the Game Boy, and I was absolutely crazy over my Game Boy, so I had to have that. And my parents rarely bought me video games, so it was not easy for me to get games growing up, and I had to borrow other people's games. And I don't know, we've talked about it a million times, Beef and I mean, when you borrow a game from somebody, you don't play it the same way as when you bought it. Because when you borrow a game from somebody, you're constantly thinking to yourself, like, all right, I've got this long before I have to give it back, or, you don't necessarily invest yourself the way you do when you own it. And that's really hard to describe, but at the same time, it's true for me. It's true for beef, and like
you're on a time crunch. It's like playing a timed level. You're like, oh, I gotta get through all this stuff in time to give it back to him before he forgets it. And, I wind up with it for years, sitting on my shelf. Then he blames somebody else for having the game.
Alright, so that was Oracle of Seasons. We're talking about Link's Awakening.
But yeah, you don't really enjoy it as much, like when you have a game yourself, you take your time with it, I could even say I'm gonna hop on this game for, an hour and just look in the forest, I wouldn't do that if I had borrowed it from somebody. I'd probably just be like, alright, well, let me just get to, the main antagonist and, finish the story and then,
pass it back.
Yeah,
always just count down passing it back.
Yeah, countdown, pass back,
Complain about the fact that you never finished it,
Yeah, you little baby about things.
Deep Trap, you got the name of that bear?
It is Moosh. I was close. It's not Mushu,
yeah.
It's Moosh.
Mushu is the name of the dragon in Mulan. We're getting sidetracked. Right.
It's also a type of pork.
Is it really? Only beef would know that.
I was going to say, the guy named that for freaking food.
Well, it's beef and pork.
Yeah, they kind of coincide.
Yeah, hand in hand.
Hoof and hoof.
Hoof and hoof. Bacon and steak. Staking. Alright. Well, I need to do a number 4 now.
What's your number 4?
Yeah, I'm going OG Zelda. First one. I was never good at it.
I don't think I'm still good at it.
Still, yeah. I could beat a couple temples now. When I was a kid, I was like a
it was rough.
young kid, I was maybe 4 or 5 when it came out. I never owned a copy of it, but I always played it at other people's houses. And, I remember getting to that tree, going into that dungeon, and just, being like, oh, alright, well, I'm dead, so go play some Super Mario now.
See, game was stupid hard.
But just the level of at the time what you were able to do, it was kind of like the first game that was like that, where you just be like, oh well, let's see what's up here. All right, there's a thing up here.
That's true. There's something to be said about the fact that it was one of the first games that was ever made, if not the first game ever made.
Trailblazer.
Trailblazer.
Yeah, see, my first experience with that game was, I believe, on the collector's edition for the GameCube. And I immediately quit. As soon as I started it up, I saw what it was. For me, at the time, it wasn't my thing, because I was into, the 3D Zeldas.
Right.
So I just put it aside for years and years, and it wasn't until, within the last, let's say, 3 years that I actually did beat it. But it was a satisfying ending, and that dungeon at the very end, that took forever.
Right.
I kept getting lost, and obviously there been updates to the game since then, but I was still getting lost.
Right.
I didn't know where to go.
Well, the map also doesn't tell you in the first game where there's staircases, so you can't really tell where you're gonna go into a staircase, pop out on the other side of the map. So
yeah, and even the updated versions, I don't even think tell you that. Do they?
No.
Yeah.
I got the original NES for my 3rd birthday. I was born in 1986, so in 1989 I got the NES for my birthday. And I had 2 video games. I had the Super Mario Brothers, and I had the Legend of Zelda. And I don't know how old I was where I started really picking it up. I was probably late 3-4 years old where I started to actually make headway in these games. But I think because I was exposed to them so young, it allowed me to finish them before other people did.
I definitely hear you there.
Yeah, I know I finished the first Zelda game before I was 10. So.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, and I'm fairly certain I actually finished the second game. I only finished the second game once, but I'm fairly certain I finished the second game before I was 10 as well. But anyway, your 4th game was Legend of Zelda. What's your 3rd game?
Third game is Ocarina of Time.
Oh, that's right.
Last time we were unanimous, but who knows?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm still unanimous on that.
We still can agree.
Solid number 3.
Ocarina of Time is solid number 3.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Maybe everybody has different reasons on why it's their number 3. So maybe we could get into that.
Well, I really could appreciate the 3D space, and I can really appreciate the mature aesthetic. You know, everybody kind of looked cartoony, but they looked kind of real at the same time.
Oh yeah, I mean, for its time, it was a masterpiece.
Yeah, it was a serious story too. You know, so it was like cartoony, but then things were going on. You know, like especially when you become adult Link and everything's just gone to hell.
Yeah, you go into Castle Town, after leaving the Temple of Time, and it's nothing but ruins. You got all the Re-Deads just walking around screaming at you.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that was terrifying as a child.
Yes, still.
The scream is still terrifying.
I mean, they don't die,
And the way they latch onto you is really
they're so slow. There's something about them being slow is even more unsettling.
Yeah, and the fact that you pause every time they scream.
Yeah.
Like, you're just shaken in fear. You're just like, oh my god, I can't move.
It gets to be a pain, though, when they scream a couple times in a row. You, walk 2 seconds or 2 steps, and then you have to, stop to watch them scream again.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you'd think that Link would be like, alright, I'm kind of just tired of having this thing sit here screaming at me. I'm gonna leave,
Yes.
My ears are killing me. I mean, he's got some big ears, too, so he hears really well.
Well, that's why it stuns him. If it was just me or you, we'd probably be like, man, shut up.
Yeah.
Crap-ass bitch.
Now, speaking of Ocarina of Time, what'd you guys think of the 3D remasters? Because I personally loved the remaster of Ocarina of Time.
I really dug it, too. I just, I can appreciate them both in separate forms. I can't really appreciate them as one piece because, the presentation of the Ocarina of Time remaster is just so much better.
Oh yeah, they definitely updated all the polygons and all that.
Yeah.
See, I don't think I played the updated one. No.
See,
I was never a handheld Zelda game fan. I always needed it on the consoles.
I mean, it was a console game, but on a handheld.
And the 3DS, was that one that you needed the new 3DS with?
No. I mean, you didn't need it for either or. You didn't need it for Majora's Mask either. It was just like an option, here it is, you can use the thumbstick. But you didn't need it.
Yeah.
Because I still have my old 3DS, and it still works just as good.
3DS, excellent.
Excellent.
Let's say that's awesome. One of my favorite Nintendo systems. And as somebody that never had, I didn't not have a Game Boy. I obviously had a Game Boy so I could play Pokemon.
Don't even get me started on that series.
Yeah, that was, he's wearing a Pokemon hat over here.
Yeah.
Pokemon talking about Zelda.
I know. The hypocrisy.
Yeah, he's like, oh, look, I'm all decked out in Zelda. He's got Pokemon hat on.
Hey, I gotta represent another franchise, okay?
I care about is represent video games.
Yeah, I'm not wearing any video game stuff. I just got Zelda.
Shame on you.
I have Zelda.
Shame on you.
Yeah, I got Dragon Ball Z and
that's not too
shirt.
bad.
So
punny shirt. So we can all agree on Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of
3?
Time,
Yeah.
It was the first 3D, pretty much. It was just outstanding for the time. The amount
Let's
of
not
stuff.
forget, it's the first 3D game with lock-on features.
Yes.
Which that helped the genre just boom.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah. When that was a thing, the melee combat was really impressive back then.
Oh yeah, even now it's still regarded as one of the best games of all time.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not surprised it's in our top 5.
Yeah.
It's just some people may be surprised that it's not our top 1 or 2.
I think people will get that out of me, especially because of the age difference between me and you guys.
Right.
Not that there's much of an age difference, but there still is.
I was 10 years old when Ocarina of Time came out, so
Yeah, see, I was what was it, 97? I was
96.
2. I was 2.
Actually, it might have been 97 because I think the 64 launched in 96. But either way.
Yeah.
I actually remember getting really sick while I was playing Ocarina of Time. I had a really high fever, and I remember just trying to go to sleep, and all I could see was the jewels. After you beat a dungeon, you just I remember just like seeing that so vividly, and like they were so pretty looking, and I hadn't seen anything like that in anything really, like games or movies, TV, anything like that. Just like they were beautiful, like I wanted them, But yeah, I was really sick, and I was hallucinating, I was out of my mind, and just playing a lot of Zelda at the time. So that's
Majora's Mask. I remember playing because that time limit really stressed me out. So I would play for hours upon hours at a time, just want to finish it up, and
me too.
I made myself really sick. Like I had to cover my eyes and the whole nine. Like I just couldn't. I couldn't be awake anymore. I was just so sick. My head was killing me. Nauseous, dizzy.
Speaking of Majora's Mask, that is my number 2.
Perfect transition.
I think that the only reason it's higher than Ocarina of Time is just because of how creepy it was. Like that really just like hit me. Like putting the mask on, transforming, like the happy mask salesman. I mean, even just like traversing the lands and stuff like that. It was not different, which was coming from me. I usually like the step forward in a lot of games, but it was familiar but different enough. With the time frame, and the moon was creepy looking.
That moon is iconic.
Iconic. It's just something that and at the end with the giants and they're holding the moon back.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
Once again, for another 20-year-old game.
Sorry, when I was 10 years old and I beat this. But yeah, like it was my favorite game for a long time.
Majora's Mask is a pretty good one. I personally love the way you get each mask. Like, you have to play a song of healing for people in despair, and, like, each character that you did it for, besides, the Deku kid, like, they're really heart-wrenching stories, especially, like, the Sora, he's washing up on land, and, like, you have to, play this beautiful melody for him to essentially, escape this terrible life he's lived or whatever. That was very impactful. I love that kind of stuff in video games.
It was great that they incorporated the music into it like they had from Ocarina of Time, too.
Oh, yeah. Zelda's always been about music, too.
Yeah, having, like, the Zoro playing the guitar, and the, just, like, the different instruments that
like the drums of the Goron.
Yeah, the drums, and what did, Deku had the horns.
Yeah, it was basically like a giant bagpipe of sorts.
I remember just sitting down and just hitting the buttons and making songs, not
me
even
too.
doing anything, It was so cool to just see, slap at the bass, playing the Zelda.
Alright, well then.
Go get some milk now.
While you're on your way to go get some milk, I'm going to talk about my number 2 Zelda game of all time, which would be the original Zelda game.
We already went over that.
Yeah, we did already go over it. However, it's my second favorite.
Is there a particular reason it's your second favorite?
It's just a little bit more important to me than it was to you guys, probably because it was one of my first video games. It was
That's fair.
One of the only games I had for a long time, so it got to the point where I would like go to my friends' houses, and if they weren't home, like my mom would go over and see her girlfriends. My friends weren't home. I would just like be able to play with their Nintendo systems. I'd just like get them a little further in Zelda, and leave them cute little notes like, "Hey, I got you a little further. You owe me absolutely nothing. I love the game." So
it's funny how like things from your childhood just have that like my Zelda for you is like Super Mario 3. Like that, it's probably like my favorite game, even though there's obviously better games out there now, even like Super Mario World, excellent game, but like just the like remembering staying up all night, and like just getting so involved in it, I think I had like the manual that had like all the secrets and stuff in it too. You just go get all the blue coins and stuff like that, they're just like priceless moments that you have,
Right. Yeah. Well, nostalgia's half the battle. Half the reason that people still care about even, like recordings of a couple people talking about video games is the fact that video games are standing the test of time. People are willing to go back to them.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, nostalgia plays a huge role in my, number one especially. I mean, granted, I did put Oracle games a little bit further back, but that's just because I like, the first 3 games a lot, better. Or at least my top 3 a lot better.
Right.
But, speaking of numbers, my number 2 is something a little bit more recent. Breath of the Wild.
I do love me some Breath of the Wild.
It's an excellent, excellent game.
Now,
brings up a lot of debate, though.
No, yeah, of course. And that's what makes a good podcast. I mean, am I right?
Right, absolutely. I love it.
Now, last time we talked, I completely forgot that Breath of the Wild was a Zelda game. Like, it didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah, and that's exactly why it's at my number 2.
Because it's so new, but it was so good. Everything about it.
Now, granted, I do recognize it for its problems. The story wasn't all there as much as I wanted it to be. It was more about exploration. But that's also another reason why it's my number 2, because for the first 40 to maybe 50 hours, I did nothing but explore. Yeah. I said, screw the story, I'm going over here. Yeah. Oh, there's something over there, beyond that hill. Oh, there's something over there. Like, I don't even think I hit a town for the first 50 hours of that game. And I was playing it, non-stop. I think, about 320 hours, according to my internal clock. Yeah. So, I loved that game. I did everything in that game. Now, like I said, it does have its problems. There are a lot of open areas where, it's just beautiful, scenic, areas, which I don't mind. But there could have been a little bit, something more to it.
Substance.
But, I've heard that as a complaint. I never had that problem, whenever I was, crossing a
neither did I while I was playing it.
I get it because it's a game, but, when you're trying to do something gaming has come to a point where everybody wants to just play real life in a game.
Yeah, that's true.
So, there's going to be, a field that doesn't have, a big angry lizard in it, that's there for no reason,
Right,
you
exactly.
just want to get from here to over here,
Yeah. And another thing that comes to my mind is, with the whole exploration thing, they added mini dungeons, so there were more, little dungeons spaced out, and then you had these giant divine beasts that you basically had to, turn back, from being, under Calamity Ganon's aura or whatever.
I think that I wish they did a little bit more with the dungeons,
The main dungeons? Yeah, I completely agree.
Going into the beasts and, changing everything, it all felt very similar. There were differences, don't get me wrong, and, the end battles, they were excellent, but,
right.
I appreciate that they tried to do something different, but I think that if they keep going this way and they put out a Breath of the Wild 2, I think that they'd be better off making
I was actually going to mention that. I was actually going to mention that because if they do something similar to what they did with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, where they basically let's say shrink down the map by a little bit and just fill it with more stuff and make it different they did with Majora's Mask, coming from Ocarina, then I think it would be an excellent game, and I think it would probably be on my number 1 if they did something like that.
Right. Yeah, that would be a game changer.
I want to bring something up about Nintendo. I wish they did more sequels to games that were.
Yes.
You know what I would love? I would love a Super Mario 64 sequel where I could just jump into paintings. Maybe go to Bowser's Castle instead of Peach's Castle.
I mean, they kind of did that.
Yeah, with Super Mario
we're getting a little off topic here, but they did kind of do that already in Odyssey. When you're jumping to face the bosses again?
Yeah.
Just not different worlds.
I was thinking about that last night and I did see the similarities there, but yeah, we're getting off topic. I meant to bring it into
games.
I hope they do make like a Breath of the Wild 2, and that they do keep the combat, keep the open world, like, I don't want to see it as a continuing feature, but at least get another one out of it, because it was so good, it
was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I think Nintendo just tries to be too innovative sometimes when they need to, like, roll back and just be like, well, everybody loved this, so maybe we just, like, tweak it a little bit.
Exactly.
Make it better, instead of just being like, oh, well, now, Zelda doesn't have a sword, he's a martial artist, gonna go beat up, Gallon and,
Now, I gotta bring this up. You just called Zelda a he. So, I don't know if that was on purpose, or if that was just a brain fart, but, like, I am one of those people that, like, will call you out on that.
Yeah, I know. It's Link. So.
I'm sorry. I had to bring it out.
You're right.
Alright, where were we on the number system?
We were on number 2. I think we all just said our number 2.
Oh, yeah,
right?
we all said number 2. Sig Trap, what's your number 1?
So this is probably going to be divisive from you guys, but my number 1 is Wind Waker.
See, I don't want to audibly groan because I don't want to upset people that would want to listen to this. But like, I have some feelings concerning Wind Waker.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Let me just get my feelings.
Yes. No.
So that was one of my favorite Zeldas for a while, like for a very long time, and I mean it still is, obviously. So I love the idea of, sailing on these vast oceans. I love the idea that we were somewhere other than Hyrule. I loved the fact that, the art style. The art style really did it for me, because I was always a cartoon guy. And, like, that cel-shaded, Toon Link with all his expressions and all that just made my day when I was younger. Like, when he's about to be launched into the Forsaken Fortress in the very beginning, when Tetra's counting down the numbers, she's like 3, and you see his expression, change based on every single number, and he just gets more and more upset about what's about to happen. And that just sold me on the game right there.
That was a really funny moment.
And obviously, like I said, the art styles, the different bosses that you got to face in that, like, obviously they were still repeated bosses, but, like, with the art style change, they just look so magnificent. Like Goma and the volcano, tugging on the dragon's tail and whatnot. I just love it.
Yeah. I had a really good time with Wind Waker too. Like, surprisingly enough that it's not on my top 5, like, because I really did enjoy it, like, I didn't get why it got so much flack from, a lot of people. It's like, people hate this game.
Oh, yeah, and it's all because of the art style, too.
I'm part of that. I'm part of that,
Yeah.
I'm extremely, but it's also clouded with circumstance situations, you know what I mean?
It's also, like, it's funny because I remember us playing it, and I remember you, like, beating it and everything,
Yeah,
so.
well, I mean, I'm a Zelda fan, so I wanted to play it and finish it, but, like, for me, it was, the GameCube came out, and the anticipation for a sequel to Majora's Mask even was at fever pitch, for me at least.
Yeah.
And then they put out the tech demo, and I know a lot of people bring up the tech demo, and they say, the tech demo spoiled the hell out of me, because I saw this realistic looking battle between Link and Ganondorf.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then they dropped Wind Waker, and
it was basically like a false advertising thing.
It was,
in a way.
It was for me, and it was based on perspective and perception.
And I totally get that.
Yeah. See, I forgot all about that.
And that's what did it for me.
Yeah, that is a lot of why I think a lot of people dislike it, because they were waiting for.
I was ready for what was next.
Right, but they did come out with something after that to, kind of give those fans what they wanted.
Yeah, Twilight Princess was basically like a Band-Aid, but there are points in Twilight Princess. I love Twilight Princess, super fan of Twilight Princess, but there's a few times in that game where it almost feels like a Band-Aid, because there are like overly mature tones that they wouldn't otherwise go with, but they're trying to please people like me that were disappointed with like the uber-toony Wind Waker.
Yeah. I wasn't that much of a fan of Twilight Princess. I played it.
And I know a lot of people that are like that too, though.
Like, the problem that I have with it is I don't remember anything about it. I don't remember hating it.
Same
I
here.
don't remember loving it. All I remember is I'm pretty sure it was Twilight Princess being in the Sky Temple trying to find those chickens with the weird faces.
Oh, yeah.
And I was missing
The-
one.
What are they called? The
One!
Ukos or something like that. Ukus.
I could not find it. Could not find it at all. I looked online and everything, and I was like, I found that one. I mean, I don't know if it glitched. I mean, I'd expect Nintendo has a higher quality than that than to have a bug like that in the game. So, I mean, it was just like, you know. And I'm not saying that that's what killed it for me, you know. That was just like, that was the only thing that I remember from it. It was just looking for these.
Yeah, see, I remember the opening dragging, and I think that's what, like, kind of put me in a bad mood with it, because I was like, oh, this opening. Like, it takes, like, I think 2 hours just to get out of it.
Yeah, it does take 2. I think it actually takes 3 hours to get through that.
Well, yeah, but, like, let's say
it takes
including
too
the
long.
dungeon. Yeah,
it
it's
takes
too long.
way
Yeah,
too long.
exactly.
I had a problem with that, but I still had love for it because, like I said, I was hanging on for this game so bad. I bought every single magazine that was pushing this game. Like, I was super excited for this game. But what had happened for me was when I had spent extended periods of time as the wolf, I was not fond of that. I was not crazy about that. So that's the only reason it's not in my top 5.
That's actually
really.
one of the reasons why I liked the game, because it changed up the gameplay a little bit.
See, I can appreciate it for what it is. I mean, you know, like, there were other games where you know, like, form changed or shape shifted, you know, like, you changed into different characters, different shapes and stuff, but, you know, like, this one was kind of like, you know, there was situations where you had to take out 3 or 4 enemies at a time, you had to be in a couple different spots at the same time, and it's just, sometimes it felt a little bit more of a chore than a game.
Yeah, that's fair.
See, that's why Twilight Princess isn't even in my mind at all, because I don't even remember being a wolf. I remember literally nothing from this game. You know, like,
I think it was mainly to, like, satisfy, like, the Western audience, like, you know, around here. Because I don't think Japan, like, was too fond of it either.
Yeah.
I think they actually preferred Wind Waker, which, you know, that's...
Well, I think generally Wind Waker is more
It was a hard left turn, you know, honestly, too. So it got a lot of, you know, negative feedback from it because people were like, oh, it's not Zelda, you know, he's a cartoon character.
Right, right.
The argument to that is, which I can understand the argument, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and repeat my feelings on Wind Waker, but the argument that could be said is, you know, on the NES and the Super NES, Link had to look the way he looked, given the limitations of the system. What did you really think he was going to look like if there were no limitations on the system? And the argument is the Wind Waker style, because, you know, that is the closest to what we had on those older systems. You know, flat-faced, you know.
That is a good argument.
I mean,
like that.
One last thing about the Wind Waker before you guys move on to your number ones. We did get a brand new Link out of it. I mean, like you said, you know, it's a brand new Link. He is literally a different Link, even in Smash Brothers now. Like, that's a totally different character from, you know, the regular Link that we now know.
Toon Link.
Yeah.
Toon Link.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even his spin-off games weren't too bad. Well, besides Phantom Hourglass, I didn't really like that one. I like Spirit Tracks.
I liked Phantom Hourglass, and I absolutely hated Spirit Tracks. See, I love differing opinions.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably move on with our list, because we
should.
are getting
Yeah,
a little
you know,
off top.
yeah,
We
we're
ranted on Twilight Princess
we're
for
starting
so
to
long.
just talk about all the Zelda games.
Yeah, we need to save our topics for other shows. So my number 2, or my number 1, and I believe it's your number 1 as well, is
Don't assume.
all right, so
Make assumptions about
forgive me. My favorite Zelda game of all time is A Link to the Past.
Mine as well.
See, and that's safe to assume because I know you. But
And we had this discussion.
and we had this
days ago.
discussion probably yesterday.
Yeah,
But
well, I can't make it easy on you.
no, I think it might have been day before yesterday. But either way,
whatever.
Regardless.
So my aunt babysat me for the first probably, like, I don't know, maybe 10 years of my life on and off. And she had a Super Nintendo and I only had the NES. And growing up with the NES, like, I really wanted to get my hands on the Super Nintendo. she had A Link to the Past. And let me tell you something, I was the most well-behaved child on this planet when this woman would watch me, because I knew damn well that if I was well-behaved, she was going to let me play that Super Nintendo, and I always wanted to play that Zelda game. And I am not kidding when I tell you, I watched Sally Jesse Raphael, I watched Rosie O'Donnell, I watched Jerry Springer's show, I watched Maury, I watched, who's the other guy? Montel Williams, and then the soap opera started. And I watched... oh my god, I can't even remember the names of these shows, but I watched a couple hours of Days of Our Lives,
General Hospital, yeah.
And then after that, I had to watch the Judge shows.
Oh my goodness, this is commitment.
Judge Joe Brown.
Judge Joe Brown.
This is
and
commitment.
the People's
right
Court. So after I watched like 8 hours worth of this garbage, I would be able to get like 45 minutes worth of A Link to the Past.
Jeez, only 45 minutes.
It was worth it, and I would do it again.
I can only imagine.
I would do it again. Let me tell you something. I was the oldest cousin out of everybody, and by a long shot. So when she was watching me, what was I gonna do? I wasn't. What was I gonna like? Feed the kids? You know, like I was only 10. You know, I just wanted to play the game.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Let's sit there and watch that garbage.
I
Watch it all day.
Yeah.
Speaking of that game, like it's regarded as the best 2D Zelda to this day.
Oh,
Yeah,
it stood the test of time for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I definitely agree.
Yeah. I never really owned a copy of any Zelda game until Ocarina of Time was the first game that I actually had that was mine. So I remember just playing like other people's files and Link to the Past. You know, I didn't even see the beginning until I was already a man. You know, like
I didn't see the beginning of A Link to the Past until I was a man.
But yeah, it was just. I don't even know what it is about it. It was just everything was so bright and colorful. Like it was cartoony, but not cartoony at the same time. You know, like the Super Nintendo. Like I remember those like was it that one dude that's just like kicking the gobbo whatever around. Like
that's right. There's like a little in the Dark World. There's a character just kicking a mushroom around.
Is it a mushroom?
Yeah,
I just remember seeing it as a gob. I followed that thing like. When I was a kid, I investigated a lot of stuff. I was like, this is weird.
Me too.
Why is this in here? He's got to do something. And he's just kicking this mushroom around, you know.
All nonchalantly, just kicking a mushroom around
like
day to day.
That's his whole life.
Yeah.
Just trying to show you how weird things are in the Dark World.
Yeah.
Just doing some work here.
And I'm going to bring up art style a lot in these conversations because I love art in games. That game still has the most unique art style when it comes to any Zelda game. Like, I have never seen anything replicated from that era.
Yeah, everything. Even, like, the crows coming in and attacking you, you know?
Right.
Like, everything about
even
it.
Link himself.
Yeah.
Right. Zelda's actually, like, you know, over time, they've become known for their, you know, iconic art styles. So, you know, with each release, it's like, what's it going to look like? I appreciate that.
I would honestly like if they put out like a major console release that was like the 2D.
Oh yeah, me too.
Or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
I would love that.
I know they did. What was the one for the 3DS? Where you
A Link Between Worlds.
Worlds, you know.
I really wish I put that in my top 5.
Oh, see, that's another thing. A Link Between Worlds, you know, that's up there on the list too. That's a good game.
That's definitely in my top 10. Right. So. Like
maybe another time we can do another list and see.
Yeah, maybe we can like roll right through them instead, because obviously we, you know, how many minutes have we?
We went off on a tangent. We're at 45 minutes almost.
Yeah. So
well, I mean, it's Zelda, you know.
Yeah. There's a lot to talk about.
Like I'm not like the hugest Zelda fan either, so it's like I'm kind of. But I have so many memories with playing Zelda from like even when I was a kid. You know, it was always an awesome game. You know,
it was always an awesome series.
You know,
hopefully, it's always going to be an awesome series.
Nobody turns their nose up at Zelda. You know.
Yeah, and they're always gangbuster sellers too, no matter what console is on.
You know, non-gamers play Zelda. You know, I've known plenty of people that are just like, no, I'm not into video games at all. And be
but
like,
I know about Zelda.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh yeah, Ganondorf, he going
Yeah,
down,
exactly.
You know? So it's universal, you know? It's almost like Mario himself, you know? Like,
Oh, yeah.
Nintendo just has that, you know? Like, oh, I don't play video games, but I love Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I mean, they're all about the nostalgia. You know, they were the first original, like, console games that, like, you know, really meant something to people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even going from, like, World 1 to World 2, like, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a World 2.
Yeah.
So, like, I went from World 1 to World 2, and I was like, wait, there's more? All right, I'm so game for this.
Yeah.
You know?
Let's get it.
Yep. All right, I think that might any finishing thoughts on the matter? You know, you want to close this up, tie this up?
Zelda's great. You know, I think we kind of wrapped that up a little bit. You know, if
there are 20 releases, I believe, by now. 20,
Oh yeah,
20
definitely.
games released. So you know, like it's
Going on for
strong.
over 30 years.
Going strong.
So,
Oh yeah, still strong. Breath of the Wild is my number 2, so
yeah,
that's an obvious.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild. You know, like
Home run.
Oh yeah.
Bring it straight out the gate, and everybody knew it.
Yep.
Everybody knew it. By
I got
the
a
end-
Switch, and I had a Wii U, but I got the Switch anyway because I knew it was going to be a home run, no matter what, whatever console it was on.
See, we both came home. Beef and I came home with a copy of each system, and we started them both at the same time to look at the
Nice.
differences. And let me tell you something: the Switch version isn't necessarily inferior or superior to the Wii U version. They're both beautiful in their own right.
Yeah.
So, you know. But anyway, you know, I'd say this is we've found a game over screen.
I think we pretty much.
I think
wrapped
so.
up.
Yep.
We want to talk about.
We're gonna
Do some plugs,
You
maybe?
know, let's plug the page. I got a Facebook page, a Let's Talk Games page. You know, if you wanna like the page, add, subscribe, leave a comment. People like to talk.
Yeah, talk about some games. I've got nothing to give you. You know, I'm just Beef. I'm over here. You know.
Beef's my friend.
You know,
Talk about beef. We're gonna talk about it. You know, I'm gonna make sure you know.
you got to bring the beef. You know, I'm not gonna have an online presence, but you know, I play a lot of games. You know,
Got a lot to say.
got a lot to say about games. Love games.
Let's talk games. Personality.
Let's talk games.
Beef.
You know. Let's talk Super Smash Brothers.
Oh.
Let's talk Super Smash Brothers. Super Smash Brothers. We're playing the ever-loving hell out of.
Yeah, and good transition for my plug. I also have some stuff online. Smash-O-Rama. I am on Instagram and Facebook at Smash-O-Rama. I also do a stream every Monday night for Smash-O-Rama, obviously for Smash. And yeah, you can find me on Twitch as Smash-O-Rama, but with a 0. The other ones is just a no.
Right.
Gotta make sure that's clear.
Yep.
Somebody took my name before I could get it.
Smash Zero Rama.
That's just...
No, it's just,
I mean, you still say "oh" when it comes to
it's
zero.
Smash-O-Rama, but
Yeah.
we got to make sure everybody that's hearing,
We'll put it in the show
Listening.
notes or something.
everybody that's listening, Smash-O-Rama.
Yeah.
This is Let's Talk Games.
Yeah.
It's our top 5.
Come
Legend
get
of Zelda.
Come get some beef.